Welcome first-time listeners and returners to the Sports Deli. To find out more about the Sports Deli Podcast, check us out online at thesportsdelipodcast.com. And whether you're folding laundry, driving, exercising, or cooking, grab your favorite deli sandwich or bagel and your favorite beverage, and let's do this together in the Sports Deli. On this 22nd day of African American Music Appreciation Month, Pride Month, and 3 days removed from Juneteenth, we are honored to welcome Williamsport/York, Pennsylvania native and TikTok sensation, the Auntie of Trick Shots, former WNBA player Cash Money, Dr. Chantel Tremitiere, our 13th WNBA player or coach, to join us in the Sports Deli during this 25th and historic season of the W. She never wanted to be the last person picked when she played, and this was a big reason why she worked so hard growing up. She played her collegiate ball at Auburn University and was part of 3 Final Four teams during March Madness, and was drafted in the 3rd round of the 1997 WNBA draft by the Sacramento Monarchs with the 18th overall pick. And to be one of the original draft picks in the first year of the history of the WNBA is just a remarkable thing as we enter our 25th season of the WNBA this year. She shares a birthday with Snoop Dogg and Kamala Harris. She is a music producer, writer, author, and you can find her book, Those Angels Among Us, Parenting the Foster and Adopted Child, on Amazon. Writer, director, actress, rapper, and activist, and has done a ton of charity work with the youth of America. She coached at her alma mater, Auburn University, as a grad assistant with the women's basketball program. Texas and UMass. She started Black Minds, Minds is with a Z at the end, in 2005, which we will discuss later. She returned to Auburn and received her master's and PhD and taught at Auburn in their business school. She loves challenges and isn't afraid to challenge even former presidents like former President Barack Obama, as Barack follows her on social media. She shared her life experiences of being an adopted child, playing in the WNBA, producing a multi-platinum hip-hop song, being a Division I SEC women's basketball player and a Big 12 coach, acting in a Disney movie, and going back to graduate school after 25 years, and also fighting and beating cancer and opportunities across the country at conferences, college graduations, basketball camps, fundraisers, and corporate events. She's been featured on ESPN. She obviously works at Nike, and you can find her all over the place. blackminds.com and TikTok, where she has 9.2 million likes and nearly 900,000 followers at Auntie Chantel. Chantel's with a CH. Or on Twitter and Instagram at Auntie Chantel on Twitter, and on Instagram, Chantel TREM, and on our website, chanteltremitiere.com. Man, it's an honor. You know, when Val said she was going to put it out there on the WNBA, group chat or whatever, and then I saw the half court shot at Dick's, right? And then for those of you that remember, she was the one that got up, challenged in Dick's Sporting Goods, and made the basically half court shot from inside the store, right? And you've talked about it a lot, and then obviously you blew up, on social media after that, but it's been an opportunity for you to use your platform for many different layers. And so that's probably been the best thing that's come out of it, because you have so many different things that you can inspire people with, have inspired women, especially, people in the adopted children and foster community. There's so many different things. So, just I guess from a chronological standpoint, talk about your childhood, because you've been quoted as saying, as long as you have a nurturing home, that's what's most important, no matter, who's raising you. So talk about your upbringing and how that obviously impacted the rest of your life in so many ways.
First of all, I appreciate you having me on. We'll be lucky number 13 today. I don't believe in unlucky numbers, so
there you go.
We're going to make 13 a lucky number.
Yes.
Childhood was amazing. I got off to a rough start where, the day I was born, my biological grandparents, they didn't want a black kid in their home.
Wow.
And so they told my mom, who was a young 16, that we're going to put the baby up for adoption. And they didn't let her see me in the hospital. And after 5 days being in the hospital with me, the nurse finally snuck her to the nursery. And it just so happened I was the only baby in the nursery at that time. And there was a big red X on my crib. And so I was named Baby X. But, I knew at the end of the day that I was going to not die as an X. There was going to be a name behind me. And after 2 months, adopted into an amazing home. Kept seeing some more kids come in that didn't look like me, and now they started living with me. And next thing you know, there's 15 of us.
Wow.
12 of us were adopted, and
Wow.
9 different nationalities. And it was just amazing. We never struggled. My mom and dad worked very, very hard. They did separate when I was about 16, and all the kids stayed with my mom. And so imagine having kids 15 and they're 9 years apart from the oldest to the youngest. So at one point she had about 13 teenagers in her house. So
that's crazy. God bless America.
But all of us, she said two things you're going to do in my house. You're going to get a high school degree and you're going to learn how to swim, because I'm not going to be able to watch all y'all when we go to the beach. But got our high school degrees, and everybody got college degrees. And
wow.
And so it was an amazing time, and being around that many different personalities and nationalities, Mike, from that many backgrounds, taught me at an early age to not have any prejudice or racial biases towards anyone, and it also enabled me to be extremely outspoken. Sometimes that may get me in trouble, but I've never really had a filter, and so I don't have one to this day, and I probably won't have one till the day I get older, because when you get older, I think the filter gets even smaller. And so, over the next couple decades, who knows what's going to come out of my mouth.
Yeah, well, filter to one is marginalizing to another. So we definitely don't want, that on any level. And I definitely want to talk to you about that a little later. But did any of your brothers and sisters go play big time like sports like you? I'm interested.
No.
Wow, that's amazing.
A couple of them played sports. One of my brothers played football at a Division III school. But it was crazy because when we were growing up, my mom and dad, her parents offered to buy us a sport court out back, and it was either going to be a sport court or a pool. And at that point, I was playing basketball at a game, and so I came into the family meeting late, and it was 7-7 tie. And I was like, Mom, you gonna put this on your youngest daughter? Like, I gotta have a pool or a sport court. And so I told her I love to swim. I almost picked swimming over playing basketball. I was probably a better swimmer than I was a basketball player. But at that point, something just, came over me, and God told me to tell my mom and dad, look, if you build a sport court, I promise you that you won't have to pay for me to go to college. I was 13 then, and a few years later, luckily Auburn came around and gave me a full scholarship. And so I was able to keep my promise. So we had a sport court.
Yes, they did. And yes, your mom and dad did. That's so great. That's 7-7 tie.
No other athletes in the family. They want to feel like they're athletes, but my one sister beat me in a game of Around the World one time when we were like 8. And she reminded me of that the other day. So
that's
her claim to fame.
That's funny. So it's funny. York was the site of a really great game. I was an assistant coach at Goucher College in Baltimore for a while, and York was the site of one of our championship games. And it's a small gym. The new gym's not small, but the old gym was small, Cracker Jack box, and it was so loud in there. So I know York really well. And Jay Billis has been on, and he talked about his high school experience and how he was really scarred growing up. And you grew up in you and I grew up in different eras. The 3-point line had just come around. It was the start of rap, with Run DMC and Kool Moe Dee and LL and Eric B. and Rakim, and just there was a lot of things. Fashion was going on. So there was a lot of layers to this whole, basketball culture, sneaker culture, music culture. So I'm just curious because I think it's an important question, especially now because it's a different era. People approach sports differently. Obviously, social media is a big part of it. But how was it for you, just as a woman of color? Do you identify as African American
I do.
or yeah? And so how was it? You said you had good experiences growing up, right? You were supported. You guys were okay.
Right.
But how was it as a woman? Did you, looking back on it, realize that, wow, this was messed up, or it was always like, hey, it was, we were in a safe space all the time? Sports Deli is sponsored by Sport RX, the leader in sport prescription eyewear. You can find them online at sportrx.com, and don't forget to enter the code DELI10 at checkout for your special 10% discount. And now back to this incredible interview right here in the Sports Deli.
York wasn't that big to where the Tremitiere family spread out a long way over York, and so we were kind of sheltered in the city, and so fortunately, it wasn't until I got to college that I didn't have any problems with anything racial. I didn't have any issues with being a female. I grew up with 9 brothers, and so sometimes I was treated like one of the boys. They took me down and played. I had to play tackle football with the boys, and so I never really, I played in a baseball league where I was the only girl, and so I really never looked at it like that. I looked at, it was more about me, and I think that's the problem with today is with social media. So many people are trying to portray themselves through what they think everyone else wants to see them through the screen instead of just being them. And I was always going to be me. My mom always called me the unbridled stallion of the family. And I was always unapologetically me. And if that was a problem with someone else, then they were just eradicated from my emotional space.
So when you say what you see in part going on now, do you mean women of the Black and Brown community, or do you just mean women in general, or just
Right.
like anyone?
Actually, it's in the sports arena, like in
Oh,
kids. um I think the disparities between women and men probably were already there. I didn't see it. Like I said, in college, we didn't know what the men were and were not getting because we were playing in the Final Four, playing in the national
yeah.
championship. So I thought that we got the best of everything. It's only now that you see, but I know this, Mike, with my personality and this mouth, if we would have had social media when I was playing, and we would have went to a Final Four and they fed us what they fed the women this year compared to the men, and gave us a yoga mat and a training table and a one barbell tree as opposed to what they gave them, oh, they'd have heard from me. Definitely, those TikTok followers and Twitter followers definitely would have heard from Chantel at Auburn. Uh,
Yes,
so I'm
ma'am.
glad I'm glad social media wasn't around.
That's classic. And talk about the atmosphere, though. Like, how was it to go to school there? Like, because a lot of people listen are striving to maybe reach the highest level, and you reached it in many ways, right? Not only in the SEC but WNBA level. But how was it there?
What's crazy, Mike, because Auburn happened by accident.
Really? Wow.
When I started being recruited, I was telling everyone, Pat Summit and Leon
Mhm.
Barmore, I was telling everyone
Yeah.
no because I wanted to go to Temple because I wanted to be an actress. At the
Wow.
time, I wanted to be on the Bill Cosby show. Obviously, now my feeling might be different about that, but back
Yeah.
then, and so Temple
Wow.
called me, and the assistant coach called me, and they set up an official visit for me. And so I was playing in the district championship, and that morning I had to go to work. I worked at Hardee's, and I had to go to work early morning shift. Our game was later in the afternoon. And so I'm there, and a gentleman walks in, Mike, and says, "Hey, are you Chantel?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "This is my name. Your birth mother is outside and she wants to talk to you." Um, and I was like,
Ooh.
"What?" And she was like, "Yeah, she's outside. She wants to talk to you." And about 3 weeks earlier, she had called me on the phone and introduced herself and just said, "I'm your mother." And so now this gentleman shows up, and I said, well, I can't go out. I'm not on break. And so my manager is like, you can go out on break. Go ahead. And so I
Lord.
go out there and just for a few moments, and I see what would be my stepsisters at the time. Went out there for a brief moment, said hello, went back in. It shook me. I played horribly that game that day. You know, had a chance to win the championship and lost it on a charge. And that night, I thought I was going to get some good news. And coach called me from Temple, the assistant coach, and I was like, sorry about the game. This was on my mind. And he said, I'm sorry too. And I said, but I'm excited about my visit. This was late in the year, and so he said, well, we've decided that we're going to go with somebody else.
Wow.
And so, I mean, I was shook. And so I thought that was the worst day of my life because, I could have gone to Tennessee, I could have gone to,
Wow.
Louisiana Tech or whatever. And so now there was no prospects. And it just so happened that my mom knew one of her adoptive parents that she placed in a home, knew Coach Champion at Auburn. And so she was like, look, let me just send you some film. And they sent him some film. He came up and saw me play in some all-star games where they introduced the three-point line,
Mm.
and I played really well, and they took me on a visit. And then I went down to Auburn, and as soon as I got on campus, like the family atmosphere mirrored my family. It just felt
Mm.
like home. And I committed right there. And
Wow.
so, being there and obviously it was a better experience, Mike, since it's always a better experience when you're winning. And so I
Yeah.
went from being at Temple to going to the number 2 team in the country. And my freshman year, our first NCAA game, we had to play Temple.
I was going
And
to ask you if you found out who the point guard was.
I knew
Let's go.
who she was. Like, I didn't know her, but I knew,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. You
found
found
out who
out.
she was, and we beat them by about 60 that first year. And the assistant coach came up to me after the game. I mean, the head coach came up to me after the game and was like,
Wow.
I never knew why you never came to campus. And I was like, what, coach? I'm like, Coach such and such, he told me that y'all didn't want me anymore. So she brought him over in the middle of the court and asked him that. And he told her, and she fired him right there. And so we went on to play in 3 national
Wow.
championships, and I never looked back. And so what I thought was the worst day of my life turned out to be the best one. And Auburn was an amazing experience, and they treated us like queens on campus. And
Mm.
I mean, we didn't get to fly on the charter planes that
Right.
I
Yeah.
flew on later as a graduate assistant at Auburn, but
That's
uh,
right. Exactly.
it was an amazing experience.
Wow, when you're in the middle of making other plans, another door opens as long as you're paying attention
Right.
and don't miss those signs. And thank goodness for that family friend. Wow, that's so cool. What a story. Oh my God. I just got to take that in for a second. That's crazy. Oh man. So then you get drafted. Did you think you were going to go to the W? Like, was that your dream? Did you realize at one point, like, hey, I'm good enough to play?
That's a story.
Oh.
So, I got out of college. I coached at Texas, and
Mhm.
then I coached at UMass,
Right.
and then I tried out for the ABL.
Right.
I quit my job. I went home to Pennsylvania. I quit my job, tried out for the ABL, was told by Seattle I was going to get drafted, and never got the call. Um,
Hmm.
and so that kind of shook me. And so then I was working as a dean of students at a school. And
Wow.
then the WNBA came around, and I said, I just want to see if I can do it because there's no way I shouldn't have been drafted.
Mm.
There's no way. And so I called the director of player personnel, Renee Brown, and I said, Renee, this is who I am. And she said, I remember you from Auburn. You've been out a few years. And I said, yeah. I said, I want to come to the draft camp. And she said, well, we're only inviting 60, and we already have, our 60 already picked. And I said, no, Renee, I want to come to the draft camp. Like, I'm gonna get drafted. And she was like, I'm sorry. Like, I appreciate your gumption, is what she said, but I'm sorry. And
Gumption.
I said, well, let me ask you, are you going to be anywhere where you're scouting any of the players that you've invited to the camp or whatever? She said, well, actually, this weekend I'll be in this was on Tuesday, and I'll be in DC this weekend, scouting some of the girls. And I said, Renee, you know what? I'm going to find a team before this weekend. I'm going to get on a team. We're going to win the championship. I'm going to get MVP, and you're going to invite me to the draft. And she thought I was BSing. And so, I spent all week getting on the phone. I didn't know anyone or whatever. So Friday evening, I got on a team, went down there on Saturday and Sunday. We won the championship. I got MVP. And after the game, Renee Brown gave me her card. And so,
I love
then
it.
it was just, I just wanted to see if I could get drafted.
Yeah.
And then I was mad that I was the third point guard drafted.
Mm.
The first point guard drafted eventually played behind me in Utah. But finally getting that call and saying, you're drafted and this is where you're going, it kind of validated the hard work and gave me a sense of whew,
Mm.
that's it.
Yeah, because it's not something, a lot of people, they get drafted and then it's right away. And it's, like whether it's Dijonay, she can forget about that missed shot or the foul that wasn't called. And,
Right.
she's playing and, she's not playing a lot, but the fact that she's, able to move on quickly, you had to wait.
Right. Right. It was, and I didn't go overseas. I didn't play. And then, but I knew that I was in shape and I knew that I can play. And I didn't want to just be drafted. I wanted to be a starter. I wanted to be one of the first
Mm.
8. There was only 8 starting point guards
Yeah.
in the world that first year, and I wanted to be one of them. And so I just put my mind to it and said I'm gonna do everything I can to be that one for Sacramento. And luckily I was.
Well, and you were in direct competition with the ABL and they ended up folding,
Right.
and they didn't draft you either. So,
Exactly.
yeah, so
Mhm.
that part's interesting also. Wow. And so, we're in the 25th season now, and I do want to talk about, some of the historic things that went on last year and some of the things that just happened with Michael Jordan and Nike, obviously. That was just announced the last couple of days. You have all these things that are sort of connecting these dots where it just feels like there's such a big shift, and it's just
Right.
great for young girls and people like yourselves because you're one of those pioneers. So, how has it been to see the evolution of the league, the women themselves as advocates, because you've always been at the forefront, and the game itself is so good. It's not like 1 through 5 can play and the rest just rebound or play D. Like,
Right.
you better be able to da 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 da, like yo-yo that ball and get by somebody. Otherwise, so the 12th player on somebody's roster is gone. You know what I mean? So Sports Deli is sponsored by Moolah Kicks. Moolah is Moolah, like money, moolah, and kicks like shoes, one word. You can find them online at moolahkicks.com. And it's the first ever female only brand basketball shoe. So it's a shout out to the basketball street culture, and it is also about fighting social injustice and gender inequality worldwide and here in the United States. And again, you can find them at moolahkicks.com. And now back to this incredible interview right here in the Sports Deli.
We knew at the very beginning there was only 80 of us. And so we became a tight-knit sorority at that time, and we all understood that it was so much bigger than us, and we had to lay a solid foundation for the Tarasis and the Birds and the Grinders and the Deladons and Sabrina, for Paige Buchers when she comes. um I think that as far as playing against, I'm still friends with most of the players that I was playing with or against. I'm so happy for Becky Hammond and Teresa Weatherspoon being even in conversations and interviews for NBA jobs.
Dawn Staley. Yep.
I love it. Cheryl Swoops and I are best friends, and
Mm.
arguably, and I would still argue that she's probably the greatest to ever play.
Yep.
And but I think you're right. I think that it's come a time where women aren't afraid to speak out, and men have always been the voice of the country. And that's what's been talked about. But I think that women have always stood as the backbone of the country. And African American women, if people think about it, African American women last year changed the course of this nation, speaking up, because if had they not spoken up, Raphael Warnock probably wouldn't have been elected.
Absolutely.
It probably wouldn't have, and would have flipped Georgia back and may have flipped the whole election.
Yep.
And so women's voices are powerful. They're so important. And even, Naomi Osaka, she didn't even speak a lot. She just said, I'm done. Like I'm choosing me. And that said so much. And so, I know that with Jordan and I get to work closely with the people over at Jordan and now with Nike, we understand that women are the backbone, and now we need to support the souls that they stand on being the backbone. And so, we're changing our mindset and giving women opportunities to not only be great on, but off the court.
I don't know how much you can talk about the whole Nike situation with the W and the players, but I didn't have that initially to talk about. But it's pretty historic, and I think we'll look back in 10 or 25 years or whatever, 50 years as this. And it's interesting because there's a lot of layers to a lot of things. But Jordan was criticized for a long time, along with Tiger Woods. Right or wrong, for not speaking out, for not being, doing more with their platforms. And, a couple people have come on the show and just said, look, everyone's different in how they handle things. And so, Jordan obviously has done more things later in his life and his career. And, from the whole Kobe induction to now the women, and he's been more visible in different ways, and I think it's a wonderful thing to see. And so, talk about how historic this is. I don't think it's getting enough attention. Like, I see it plastered all over the place, but it's not necessarily on the morning news or ESPN. It should be featured more. There should be more people being interviewed. Meanwhile, we got Stephen A. Smith talking about Ben Simmons every single day, and it's like, first of all, leave the guy alone. Like, okay, so maybe he's hard headed. Just say he's hard headed, and he's got to do some things if he wants to get more respect and change his game. But let's talk about something that's actually groundbreaking.
You
You know
know,
what I mean?
one, yeah, I'm not really a fan of Stephen A. Smith, and I wish that ESPN would call either Chantel or Auntie to come on and debate
Man,
Stephen
let's
A. Smith
go.
because I would make Stephen A. Smith want to quit his job. Uh,
Let's go.
it's at least right now. I mean, it's going to be baby steps, Mike. It's we know it. We're not going to affect change, immediately, and at least we're having conversations.
Yeah.
And you're right. Sometimes Michael may not have spoken as much as society wanted him to speak, or Tiger, or whomever it is. But and I like to look at it, instead of seeing what they weren't doing, let's see what they are doing now. And women have proven when they've gotten a platform that they've been able to speak. And I
Mm,
think more importantly, people loved Michael because he was one of the greatest, arguably the greatest. They love LeBron because, he's probably the best in the world right now, or KD. You look at Serena Williams,
mm.
and people who've never picked up a tennis ball, who've never watched tennis, are watching her, not because she was the best player in the world, because they've been watching her for 20 years,
Yeah.
but because she has a story. And I
Mm.
think that's where sports and Nike and Jordan, Converse, Puma, all these companies, that's where they need to make the shift, Mike, is not
Yep.
necessarily what the women are doing on the playing surfaces, but
Mm.
start talking about their stories and how they can connect their stories with regular people.
Right.
And I think instead of marginalizing and commercializing women, the sports world needs to humanize them. And until we do that, our voices aren't going to be heard.
People would always criticize Venus and Serena's dad, as the angry black man. Man, you know how hard it must have been to come out of Compton as two black women
Right.
playing freaking tennis?
Right.
Like, and that wasn't even thought of to tell that story and create that narrative.
Right.
Instead, it was him going off on the media and things like that. I don't mean to get sidetracked,
No
but that
problem.
kind of thing, like for a long time, really pissed me off because like they bit their tongue a lot.
Mhm.
Like in the backlash that they had to face, man, it's probably not even been told yet. Some of the things that they had to face, in the
Right.
stand and just in general, being in a white sport. You know what I mean? So, man, mad props to Serena and Venus for everything they've done, and especially Serena being a mother, coming back near dying. Her daughters, got a tennis racket in her hand now, so that's cool.
I
That's
love it. I
yeah,
love watching
that's
her
awesome.
videos. And they even have Olympia's doll is famous on Instagram, Quay. So
That's right.
I love it. I love anything that empowers or just appreciates and humanizes women, and hopefully, the conversation won't fizzle out. And I know that the people over at Jordan are going to do an amazing job with the WNBA family campaign, and Nike's about to do some really big things with some women, and so I'm excited to be a part of that as well.
Man, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I had Natty White from Moolah Kicks on because she's created this shoe for women only, for women's basketball only sneaker brand, and obviously it's not going to compete with the Jordan brand, but it's just great to see that people are putting all their energy into having their own brand for women, and it's long overdue, and it's man, that you're a part of it is just, God, that's got to be just, you wake up every day and you probably just, you're just going crazy just thinking about all the things that the lives it's going to touch, like domestically, abroad. Oh man, that's just phenomenal. Kudos to, man, props to MJ, the GOAT. And then he's not just appearing in a picture, like he's a part of this process, right? Like he wants to know all the steps and be a part of it, not just do photo ops and things like that. Yeah,
Right.
that's so awesome. Um, so you taught for a while, and then you're not teaching anymore, right, at Auburn?
No,
Yeah,
no.
done with that whole thing.
It was a good experience.
Yeah.
I had 135 in one class and
Ooh,
145 in another, and
wow.
they did me right on rate my professor. But
Hey, you and me
and
both.
I just hope they walked away with something
Yeah.
good, and a lot of them reach out to me on TikTok and
Mhm.
other social media and just say, I remember you, you're my professor. And so
It's
that's fun.
interesting. So that was in the business school, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So my former assistant coach when I was coaching women's JC ball, Dan Bruton. So he worked at Upper Deck. So he came on the show. So um, Kevin Garnett and Jordan. So it was very unique at the time in the early 2000s. Ken Griffey Jr., Joe Montana, Tiger Woods, MJ, Dan Marino, and I think I'm missing a couple others. They were all under his umbrella. And so he came on the show and talked about these stories, including MJ, about how humble he was, how he would sign autographs at his fantasy camp, and like do all these things. And so it's interesting you're talking about MJ and what he's doing, because he's been doing this stuff behind the scenes for years, but
Right.
he just hasn't been at the forefront. So I want to talk about a couple other things if it's cool before we get to the famous rapid fire. But the we haven't really spoken on the show at all about the dreaded C word. And uh you had a shirt somewhere that said "Beat Cancer, it's what I do," and on the back it said she picked the wrong one.
Right.
Right. So obviously it was an emotional journey. Some things weren't going right. You were paying attention to your body, you knew something wasn't right, and then so obviously you were diagnosed with cancer. But talk about that whole journey. And obviously it's one of the more successful cancers in terms of beating it and stuff. But what more of what it did for you and how you maybe saw the world differently after Sports Deli is sponsored by PSK. You can find them online at lids.com, pskcollective.com, tjmax.com, walmart.com, and now Kohl's department store at Kohl's is Kohls, Kohls.com. They have some incredible women's athletic wear that's all inclusive. And again, you can find them online at 5 different locations: lids.com, pskcollective.com, tjmax.com, walmart.com, and Kohls.com. And now back to this incredible interview right here in the Sports Deli.
Well, I had a sister who went through thyroid cancer, and I was coaching at Auburn, and I just got a text. There was a group text from her, and she just wanted brothers and sisters to know, hey, look, my thyroid cancer might have come back. And so that night I just, was like, let me check my neck. And so I felt
Wow.
something.
For
And
that reason?
yeah,
That's
that
crazy.
was it. And
Wow.
I was like, man, let me see what's going on. And so all night I'm trying to rub this thing away. And so the next day I go
Wow.
in and we have a game against Alabama. And so I talked to the university team doctor, and he touches my neck and he goes, uh-oh. And I'm like, why are you gonna say uh-oh in front of
Yeah.
me? And he was like, yeah, he said that's probably your thyroid. What are you gonna be doing on Monday? And I'm like, I'm gonna be wherever you want me to be.
Mm,
And so I got a they did they did a MRI on it. I mean ultrasound.
mm,
And I'm looking at the screen, I see this big black thing, and I'm like, that doesn't look good. And so they told me, look, we have to take this out anyways because it's so big. So we're not gonna test it for cancer. We'll put you into surgery, we'll take it out, we'll take out half of it, and then we'll test it right there. And if it's cancerous, we'll take out everything. If
mm.
not, we'll just take out the side, we'll just take out the growth. So I went in 3 days later, and I got half of it taken out, and so obviously I didn't know. It was scary going into surgery, not knowing coming out of it that I may have cancer. So I came out of it, and they said it's benign, and so we only took half of it out. And so I went back 10 days later for a follow up, and my doctor said, we might have a problem because the senior pathologist thinks it's benign, but the junior pathologist thinks it's malignant. So we're going to send it out to UAB, get it tested. So it came back as malignant. So they had to go back in and take out the rest. And he told me, had we waited maybe 2 more weeks, then it would probably have gone into
Yes.
your lymph node.
Metastasize. Yeah.
And so they got it out. But it was at that moment that I took a second, felt sorry for myself for about 5 seconds, talked to the Auburn head coach at the time. And I just said, you know what? She picked the wrong one. Like she's not fit, she's not gonna beat me.
Yeah.
And so it was fairly easy to beat. And they say if you're gonna have cancer, thyroid cancer is probably the one to have because it's the easiest to beat. What they don't talk about is thyroid cancer is probably the hardest to live with afterwards, because
Mm.
not living with a thyroid is almost like the needle in your car on your gas gauge is broken. You don't know how much gas you have left,
Wow.
and if you run out of gas,
Mm.
you'll be stuck. And so, my energy levels will go up and down. If my medicine is not working right, I'll
Mm.
pick up weight no matter what I'm eating. I could eat salad, I'm still picking up weight. I have to, manage that. And so, but I always knew that I was gonna beat it.
Wow.
And I just journaled my journey. And
Wow.
so I didn't let it stop me. I knew that my mom was also going through cancer. And
Mm.
you know, when I was getting my PhD, I tried to get it in time before she passed. I was a couple
Oh,
weeks late, but she knew that
she knew.
yeah.
Yep.
And
She knew.
so it's we talk about that dreaded C word, but Mike, to be honest, I think the less people are afraid to talk about it, the
Mm.
better they can handle it. And your mindset going into it and fighting it is 90% of it. Like, you
Mm.
just got to go in. And so right now, as I've been in remission. I mean, my chances of getting cancer are just as little or as much as yours.
Hmm. Wow. I do want to tie in Club Sparkle because I know that's important to you in terms of the support system that you have, not only the Auburn family and your family, but supplementation. I have Crohn's. It's obviously different, but I've been on mega vitamin and mineral therapy for 26 years and been asymptomatic for a long time, and so I know the power of those types of things. So tell everyone who doesn't know what Club Sparkle is, and you have a couple of products that you've talked about before, and you're not like necessarily a spokesperson for them. It's just something that you're talking about because it just works and it makes you feel so good. And sometimes you even miss your Western medicine, right? And a couple times you're just like, oh, I didn't even realize I went a few days without it, and you're still fine. And how empowering that must be.
Right. Well, I've known the founders of Club Sparkle for about 20 years, ever since I was playing
Wow.
in Utah. And so, I always believed in what they were doing, and it's when you don't have a thyroid, you're crazy deficient in selenium, and so you
Mm,
need that mineral, and so being able to take those minerals and vitamins,
it's an antioxidant, right?
yep,
Yeah.
I get all my vitamins. They're the best uh, supplement company in Japan, and
Wow.
so they're based here in um, in Las Vegas. But now, actually, it's funny you said it. But now I actually am the brand ambassador for them.
Oh, seriously? Wow.
But
That's
I've been
awesome.
taking it for a long time, and
Yeah.
so I just said, let me try something different. And as I start doing my shots on social media and things, I would put the products in there, um, but never talk about them. I would just every time I would go down and tie my Nikes, and this was before I even worked at Nike. I would tie my Nikes and make sure that the products are there so that people would be like, "What are those products?" And so they just bring up conversation. But they saved my life.
Mm,
They gave me energy, and they still do. I still take them every day,
wow.
and it's been an amazing supplement for me, and I know that it's helped a lot of people. So,
So it's not just for people with cancer
oh
necessarily,
no,
right? Yeah.
no, not at all.
Yeah.
It's your everyday,
Who
every
had
single mineral
cancer.
that you need.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's for people. It's for everybody.
Wow.
Everybody. If you're, your body can't make its own minerals.
Right.
So if you're not eating enough, then you're not getting your minerals. So it gives you your minerals. It gives you every single vitamin that you can imagine in 2 scoops, and you get every single fruit and vegetable in a tablespoon of concentrated nectura. So, I
Wow.
believe it's not about, you know, being a brand ambassador. It's I really believe in these products, and I've taken them for years, and
Wow.
I'll probably take them till the big man calls me to go
Yep.
upstairs.
Well, and the reality is, if you could get all your nutrients from food, that's ideal. But the reality is, most people just can't. They
Right,
just don't.
right.
So, you got to supplement, and most people are just not educated on this thing. So now you're probably more educated because of cancer, which is
Absolutely.
sort of a cool byproduct of this whole thing. So I want to pivot for a second. We talked about the W, and obviously you talked about Reverend Warnock, and obviously the players in their own way, led by Sue Bird and others. Forced Kelly Loeffler out, which was another good thing. She had no business being a minority or
Absolutely.
majority owner with that belief system. But mental health obviously is been at the forefront more lately with Liz Cambage or DeMar DeRozan, some football players and others. So it was more taboo in the past. And again, this is another thing. Kevin Love, people have spoken out about it, and the pandemic really raised more awareness on top of it, just because there's more abuse because people were inside more, and it was just all bad. But the good part that's come out of it is there's more discussions about mental health. It doesn't have to just be about CTE with football players. Like, it can just be multi-layered, and just how hard it is to grow up, especially as a in the LGBTQ community. Girls in general, and boys aren't immune to it, but it's most of the discussions, I think, have to do with women. Whether a coach makes a comment about a woman's weight, like that happened in the WNBA, and from my perspective, I don't think he meant it, but he should have been punished.
Right.
But it all matters. It affects. And I want to ask you this question, because I had a discussion with somebody today, because I think that we're a lot of us who are listening and trying to learn more, to get better educated, not just to be more anti-racist, but just with the Black and brown community, understand things better, instead of us telling the Black and brown community as whites about themselves. Like, they're telling their stories, don't tell them about themselves. And so a lot of times I'll preface things to make sure that the space is safe. So do you think that anytime a white man is talking to a woman, and I do want to talk about mental health, but it sort of ties into this, do you think white men have to preface anything remotely controversial or could be viewed as aggressive with, hey, this is a safe space. I know I'm a white male, but anything that you and I dialogue about, I consider you an equal? Or is that creating a different narrative where it's like the woman might say, I don't need your approval. Like, I'm good. Or do I need to go overboard and say, hey, This is a safe space. I know I'm going to ask you some questions that might be a trigger, but please understand that I have no agenda, no hidden intentions other than to get educated and be a better version of myself.
I think it can be either way. I think it depends on the person that you're talking to. It's with me, you know, I don't think it's necessary to, preface anything. If you're having a conversation with someone, look, you go into it thinking, you know what, you're hoping it's a safe space. And if it's not, then if you ask something that's offensive or
Right.
someone thinks it's derogatory, then be okay with them letting you know that. Like, hey, that was that offended me. And be okay with that conversation
Mm.
because, you know, you don't want people to have to walk around and feel like, man, I gotta say, hey, I want this to be okay. I want to ask you something. It might be offensive, but I don't want you to feel this way because, nah, let's just have a conversation. And
So is it different with women versus African Americans? Because I feel like a lot of white people that haven't been integrated at a young age that don't understand the black and brown community, whether it's saying, hey, you're so articulate, like buzzwords or women feeling oppressed or because I think there's a lot of people that listen to the show and they don't understand it, or they say, oh well, that's just the angry woman, or
right.
get over your feelings, or and so then it continues to perpetuate the narrative of marginalization and people not being heard and feeling like what they're trying to have the courage to share is valuable and important. Even if they're on an island by themselves, they should still feel supported. That's their experience.
Yeah, I think it works both ways. And I look at it the same way as I look at police officers and African Americans.
Mm.
You know, if we as African Americans want um want police to not look at all African Americans as thugs and thieves and criminals, then we as African Americans have to look and say that not all police officers are murderers. And I think that, with what you were just talking about, um, black women we have to understand that is going to, not everyone is trying to attack us. Not everyone is trying to, um, put us down. But some people still need educated,
Mm.
and I think the shifting conversation doesn't necessarily need to be made between the white male and black woman. I think the conversation needs to be made between the white male and his other white male
Mm.
friends who
Facts.
would talk to that black woman that way. So you don't have to talk to me in a way that you don't want me to be offended or whatever. But if I'm not around and you're around another white male who is talking about
Mhm.
African American women like this, you be the one to say, "Yo, bro, like that's not cool." Like, no, like because if you're not changing, then we're all not changing. Because
Because
when you
yeah,
go
because
around
they're
that black woman, now
Mhm.
that black woman's gonna see me like that too. So I think that's the
Mhm.
conversation shift that needs to happen.
What a great point. So to be a white voice, but to be it behind closed doors when
Right.
when no one else sees it. Yeah, such a great point. So, any thoughts about mental health and where we are with that, and are we going in the right direction, especially with the W and the support that the women are getting? And some people took the year off last year. They just they couldn't handle it. Whether it's Maya doing advocacy work, or people just from their mental health, or Elena,
Right.
from a health perspective, those types of things.
Yeah, I look at two ways, Mike. One, people don't understand, or I wish that more people would try to understand really the pressures of professional sports. You know, we're talking about like Kevin Durant who went off on Michael Rappaport in some DMs and things like that.
Mm.
And that was made a big deal. And yeah, Kevin was probably wrong in doing that. But for the times that he has reacted, there's 100,000 times on the court where people have called him names, and they're
Mm.
sitting this far away from us on the court and they're calling us names and calling our parents names and things like that where we don't react.
Spitting on you.
Right. And so you have to internalize a lot of that. And imagine, with Naomi, she's an African American Japanese woman, who's the best in the world at 23, and all this pressure is being put on her shoulders. We don't know the things that she hasn't reacted to. And so she just and now when you're in front of the media, they're going to keep asking you things about that. Uh, Every now and then you're going to want to break, and that needs to be okay. That needs to be okay. On the other hand, I also think that, I support mental health issues. I always have. I have family members and friends who have gone through that, who have issues. But I said in a TikTok today, actually, that, you know at the same time, you can't be someone that's struggling with mental health. You can't be someone that feels like you can say anything or do anything to someone, and then when they clap back at you, now you're playing the victim and saying that they're clapping back at you because you have mental health issues,
Yeah.
right? You can't throw down your shield
Yeah.
and start shooting ammunition at people and then tell them you can't shoot it back at me because I got to pick up because I have this shield in front of me. Mental health is never an excuse for ignorance or being rude or bad behavior. So that needs to be, it on both sides.
Yeah.
But as far as, like you said, as far as professional athletes, you know, people need to they see professional athletes doing superhuman things, and so they expect these athletes to be superhuman, and they're not. Every human makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Every human is not perfect, and so like I said, it's hard when you look at someone and they're making $100 million, and you're thinking that money does make you happy and things like that, but money doesn't buy anything internally. So yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. You want to talk about blank minds at all? Because I think that's something that's
Blank minds.
amazing.
The reason that I brought it up, I mean, the reason that I did it was, because and our thing is within its emptiness lies its infinite substance.
Mm.
And you know, one day I want to, we're doing video production, we do graphic designs, we build mobile apps, and so I just wanted to be a blank canvas
Mm.
that anything I wanted to create in the future that I could, and I can put it up under the umbrella of blank minds. I still do, and
A lot of kids.
yep, yep, a lot of kids, and
Wow.
I just use it as my platform, and try and teach the kids that whatever you can dream of, you can do it, but you got to work for it, and nothing's going to come free, and nothing's going to come handed to you, uh, and so I try to be a support system for them. That's about it.
Yeah, and it's great because we got to have more artists and photographers and doctors, and especially in the Black and Brown community, not just athletes that people are striving to be. That it's got to be across the board. The Sports Deli is sponsored by City Lokes, CITYLOCS. You can find them online at citylokes.com, where you can go and make your own personalized license plate hats. They're so cool. You got to check them out. And don't forget to enter the code TheSportsDeli at checkout for your special 10% discount. And now back to this incredible interview right here in the Sports Deli. All right, we'll talk about a couple of things in the rapid fire. You good? We
Let's
ready to
go.
rock and roll? All right, let's do it. Buckle your seatbelts. All right. So you're a TikTok sensation, along with Val Whiting, who we had on the show, and she's the reason. Shout out Val Flowers. She's the reason why you're here. But is there one video in particular that has meant the most to you out of all your videos?
A shooting video.
Well, I mean, you've done a lot of social, you've done a lot of different kinds of videos, but
Right,
which one sort of stood out? Not necessarily because of the amount of likes, but
right.
just that you felt the most impacted.
Wow, that was a good one. I there have been videos that I've clapped back on some Karens.
Ooh.
Um, that there was one time I was in a Michaels, and I was trying to get my doctorate degree framed, and I had a shirt that said "rap fan" on it, and there was only two other women in the store,
Oh boy.
and so yeah, and they said, they'll give a GED degree to anybody these days, and I turned around and I said, "Ma'am, are you talking to me?" And she was like, no, we're not talking to you. And I was like, well, I'm the only one in the store. And so I said, well, I don't have a GED, but I do have a degree that ends with a D and it starts with a PH. And so I pulled it out. And then so I told the lady behind me, I said, you know what? I don't think I want to get it framed here. I said, I think I might just want to get it put on my shirt. And so, yeah, so I enjoy calling out the Karens. Like I said at the beginning, I have no filter. And if you come after me, I'm gonna come after you. And so, yeah, that was probably the most fulfilling. It probably wasn't the most fun, but it was the most fulfilling.
You have any regrets? I know you've been outspoken about some things that have happened in the W, people saying things, or just in general. Like looking back on it, do you think like the way that the narratives are now? Do you think you could have approached anything differently? And
I uh I fought cancer, Mike.
yeah,
I don't regret a thing.
yeah,
The funniest thing about life is that none of us is going to get out of it alive, and so we only get one chance at it. And so I don't tend to regret anything.
yeah.
Um, you know, I am who I am, and I'm going to keep being who I am. And if you clap at me, you better be ready, because if I have time that day, I'm clapping back. Yeah, and I'm
Let's
gonna
go.
yeah, and you can call me any, and I tell them you can call me anything you want. You can call me any name you want. Just make sure you put doctor in front of it.
I love it.
Mhm.
What's the number one thing on your bucket list right now?
uh, I want to go to Fiji.
Wow. Why?
I just want to go to
Oh,
Fiji and be on one of those huts in the middle of the water
I
for
love
about a week and not take my computer, not take my phone,
it. Ooh,
uh,
Lord.
just go hang out and jet ski, and
Hmm.
that's number one on the list.
That's not. What's number two?
I want to make a huge difference at Nike, and I want to change the way that
Hmm.
that organization does things with women's basketball in the future.
So great. It'll happen. Okay, so fellow Auburn alum inside the NBA. So Chuck, Kenny, Ernie, or Shaq?
I gotta go with Chuck. Chuck's an
Yeah.
Auburn guy, and he's like me. Like that's exactly how I would like. They should put me on a women's basketball in show, because I would
Totally.
be exactly like Chuck, like no filter at all. And
Oh
sometimes he'll
man.
say things that might hurt people's feelings, and he might even say sorry, but he meant it at the time. That's what I exactly what I would do.
Right. Yeah,
And put
that's
me on a show
awesome.
with Stephen A. Smith.
Yes, please. That would be great. So talk about your shirt, right? Because you always yell "caca" in your
I,
videos.
mhm.
So is that what that is? Because I can
Yeah,
see if you. So
yeah.
talk about what is that a sorority thing? What is that?
Actually, so caca is actually in Spanish means shit. And
Okay.
so,
Right.
but you notice like when somebody does something amazing, and you see like an old woman making a shot behind my back from my knees in the dark with a glow in the dark ball, the first thing folks say when they see something great, oh shit. Right? But
Oh, here we go.
but
Okay.
I didn't want to cuss on all of my videos.
Yes.
And so I didn't, and so I wanted to spell it
Wow.
differently. So I said Kaka in the AAA is because I'm all about action. And
No, that's so
so I
cool.
just started saying it out of each one, and a lot of people are wearing the shirts now, and people are yelling it afterwards. And yeah, I need to get LeBron to say that after a shot.
Oh man, let's go. That would be amazing. That's so cool.
That's where it's
Uh,
from.
yeah, that's awesome. Great story. So obviously MJ or LeBron, MJ. Ooh, wow.
I think that uh, I think that MJ is the most talented player
Hmm.
of all time. I think that Kobe is the best scorer of all time, but I think LeBron is the most dominant player of
Wow.
all time. LeBron can play 1 through 5.
Hmm.
Um, I think that LeBron would have had more success playing in Jordan's era than Jordan would have played in LeBron's era. I grew up a Jordan fan. I wore my shorts baggy. I was the first one to wear my shorts baggy at Auburn just because of Jordan, and I would try and walk like him. Uh,
Wow.
but Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm a LeBron fan. I'm a LeBron guy. Yeah.
So what point guard do you like watching in the NBA right now?
Chris Paul, without a
Man,
shadow of a doubt. Chris Paul. He makes
assist to turnover ratio. Holy moly.
That's why I did growing up, and even in the league, like I would look at assists before I looked at points. Like I wanted to make sure that my assist to turnover ratio was the best in the league, and he just makes everyone around him better.
Yeah, your senior year at Auburn, you averaged 6 assists, which is not easy in that conference, and a big reason why he had so much success. And
but I averaged 0.4 turnovers a game.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's amazing. That 6 for all of those of you out there listening. To me, at any level, more than 2 turnovers in a game is not acceptable. So you need to figure out how to value the basketball better. If you think, oh well, I got 3 assists and 3 turnovers, no, not good enough. Stop striving for mediocrity. Absolutely, yeah.
If I'm playing 38 minutes a game my senior year in Auburn, I need to take care of the ball.
Yes, absolutely, especially down the stretch. Heck yeah.
Sure.
Run DMC or Fat Boys?
Fat Boys.
Oh wow, I love it.
I like their beats better.
Fat boys are back. They had great
beatboxing.
Man, yeah, they were killing it. Eric B and Rakim, Slick Rick, or KRS-One?
Eric B.
Ooh man, so underrated.
Absolutely.
Let the rhythm hit him. Yeah. Cool Mo or LL?
LL. Yeah, the lips. It's the lips for me. It's the lips for me.
I love your watch band too. You got a Pride. Oh, that's awesome. Where can people find that? That's sweet.
I'm not sure. It was bought for me.
Oh, okay.
No idea. I don't know.
I love it. For those of you watching on YouTube, check that out. That's pretty cool. Super Mario or Tetris?
Tetris. You got to think more with Tetris. And you got to think more about the future. Like I think as a point guard, you would like Tetris more.
Facts. Did you play Defender and Galaga back in the day?
I played Gilligan. I did.
Yeah, not Defender. Galaga was bomb. Jolly Ranchers or Tootsie Rolls?
Pac-Man. It was Pac-Man for me.
Oh, Pac-Man. Yeah, for sure.
It was 100%.
Yeah, Pac-Man.
What'd you say?
Jolly Ranchers or Tootsie Rolls?
Tootsie Rolls all day. I love chocolate. I can eat about 8 of the small ones.
The small ones, right?
Yeah.
Jawbreakers or Bazooka Gum?
Jawbreaker. You gotta see if you can. You gotta see if you can suck it all the way down to the bottom and not chew it.
Yeah, exactly.
My mom wouldn't let us chew a lot of gum.
Oh, that's classic. Sugar Babies or Milk Duds?
Milk Duds.
Sanford and Son or the Jeffersons?
Jeffersons. Come on.
Wheezy.
Yep, that's my girl.
Different Strokes or Different World?
Different World.
Interesting. Spin-off to the Cosbys. What's Happening or Good Times?
Good Times.
Yeah, man. Good Times was great. Waffles, French toast, or pancakes?
French toast every day. Ooh, I can eat French toast every day.
Anything on it or just?
It gotta have it. It has to have like more powdered sugar than French toast. Like gotta have powdered sugar on it.
Have you ever had French toast made with challah?
Mm-mm.
So it's a Jewish bread. It's thicker.
Really?
So that's my challenge to you. You got to have French toast with challah bread.
All right, I'll try that. I usually use Texas toast or cinnamon buns, but yeah, we'll try that.
Yeah, challah is amazing. Okay, let's see if you Brady Bunch or Gilligan's Island?
Gilligan's Island, because I was always trying to root for him to get off that island.
That's so classic. Family Ties or the Cosbys?
Cosbys.
Yeah. Billie Jean or Beat It, Michael Jackson?
Beat It. I like the video.
Yeah, video is classic. Eminem, Lose Yourself or Usher's Yeah?
Eminem all day.
Yeah, he's amazing. Beyonce's Halo or Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You?
Whitney Houston is, I think, the best singer of all time.
Yeah. Yahoo or Google?
Google.
Apple or Microsoft?
Apple. Mac all day.
Rugrats or Smurfs?
Smurfs. I love Papa Smurf.
That's classic.
That was my guy.
People don't even know about that.
Right.
Hong Kong Phooey or Scooby Doo?
Ooh.
See, the people don't know about Hong Kong Phooey.
Right. I think I'm gonna go with Hong Kong Phooey.
Ooh, yeah, let's go. Get in that garbage can and get into that car.
I think I'm gonna go with Hong Kong Phooey.
Tom and Jerry or Grape Ape?
Oh, Tom and Jerry all day.
Man. Wonder
I can
Woman
watch
or
it.
Bionic Woman?
It got to be the Wonder Woman. Like, she's dope, and she's still around.
Euro or floater?
Oh, floater is prettier though. In the Euro, you know, that's a lot. It's controversial sometimes, gray area. I don't want to get called for a walk. So the floater, you can't. It is what it is.
That's classic. Xbox or PlayStation?
Xbox, so I can play Forza Sport. They don't have Forza Sport on PlayStation.
So if you were playing in the W now, what aspect of your game would you want to work on the most? Whether it's step back threes or coming off screens like Reggie back in the day and hitting
Right.
threes in the corner, or what would it be? Scoring
Uh,
point? Would you rather be more of a scoring point, or did you like distributing too much?
I love distributing the ball.
Yeah.
Like, I love being pretty and getting the crowd into it
Mm.
and talking
But
trash.
you got to
And
score now. You can't just pass.
yeah, you're right. Like, and I'll trust me, I'll get my points. I would get my point. I would
Right.
probably shoot more. You know, I saved my best games for like national championship games and things
Yeah.
like that. I would probably look to score more. But yeah, I would. My teammates would love me because I would want to average 10 assists a game.
I
At
love
least.
it. That's so cool. So in the W, who's your favorite player to watch right now? Enrique,
I, you know,
Skylar, Lena, Brianna.
I love Elena Deladon's game. Um, I love Liz Cambridge. I love just her swag.
Yeah,
Um, but I can't go wrong with Asia Wilson. She's
man,
over. She's a
she's
she's a
so
she's a
good.
baller. Yeah.
Yeah, she is. She's
So
yeah.
I get to go down there and see them in Vegas, and
Oh,
I'm
cool.
hosting some runs for Renee Montgomery here in Atlanta coming up, and so they gave me some courtside seats, so I'm gonna watch them play up close against Phoenix and I think the Sky and the Aces. So it'll be fun. I'm gonna
That's
talk
cool.
trash to the girls. You're like, Auntie, is that what?
So if you could bring anyone else on the show and co-host with me, who would you want to bring on the show after your time with us?
You mean who I would want you to bring on next?
Yeah, or down the road that you'd like to surprise maybe and co-host if that's ever a thing.
Who would be good? You gotta bring on Swoops.
Hey,
Yeah,
let's do it.
you gotta bring on Cheryl.
I would
Yeah,
love to. I've DM'd her, but people are busy and stuff like that. But hey, make it happen. I would
I'll
love.
hit her up.
All right, bet.
Yeah, I'll hit her up. That's the GOAT to me.
Yeah. Oh,
He's the
okay.
hardest
Yeah.
player I've ever had to guard, and I no disrespect to the players now, but I think that Cheryl's the best that ever played.
Amazing. Well, I know your time is so valuable, and Nike and everyone that crossed paths with you has been and is so lucky to have you in their life. I only know what I've done in terms of my prepping for the show and my research about you, but what you stand for and your journey, and I can't say necessarily the best is yet to come, but there's a lot of amazing things still to come, and the next chapter is amazing. And we were just talking sports on the show initially, and after George Floyd, we just felt like, I coached college ball for 23 years, and I told you I have a daughter, and my dad committed suicide when I was 9, and there's just a lot of things that I think are more important than just talking about daily sports and things that are irrelevant an hour later. And hopefully people listen to what you had to say today, and even 20 years down the road, they say, hey, this is still relevant to me. I can learn a lot from her journey, and truly honored that you came in and shared space with us today, for real.
I appreciate you having me. It was amazing, and I'm gonna keep talking regardless, even if they don't. I'm gonna keep talking. But I got one question for you though before you.
Yeah. Okay, bet.
Love Boat or Fantasy Island?
Oh man, Love Boat for sure. Yeah, you know what? I never vibe with the plane, like this is the
I
Love
love Mr.
Boat.
Rourke, and he
Yeah,
made things happen. But the Love Boat, that was my thing.
that was a great question. I haven't asked that one yet. That's funny. That's cool.
But I appreciate
So,
you really having me on here.
yeah, no, it's been wonderful, and yeah, if we can ever do anything for you down the road, let us know. Obviously, you're doing amazing things, and one of my questions usually is 5 years down the road, where do you see yourself? Obviously with Nike probably, and change
Vice president. That's what I want to be.
Hey, let's go. Don't forget us little people here in the Sports Deli, because we're just doing our part just to be a layer, and hopefully some people learn a few things, and they can share it, like you said, behind closed doors with their people, and then over time, like with the LGBTQ community, you can see all the changes that have been made, from healthcare to acceptance, and the same thing needs to happen with women and the Black and Brown community and people of Middle Eastern descent. And it's just, some people are going to be way over here, like with recruiting. You're never going to get them to come to your school.
Right.
Some people are coming right away, but there's a lot of people in that gray area, that we can educate and get them to understand things better. And you're someone that's doing that, and I applaud you, and namaste. Appreciate you.
Appreciate your platform.
All right. Sounds good. Talk soon.
Thanks,
Much
Mike.
love, much respect.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye. Man, we can't thank Dr. Chantel Tremitiere, for coming into the Sports Deli. So many wonderful things that we talked about, and what an education that was. And check her out on TikTok. Remember, it's Auntie Chantel, Chantel. And she's on Instagram. And remember, on Instagram, it's Chantel Trem, Trem. Twitter, it's Auntie Chantel. You can check her out on her homepage, chanteltremitiere.com. And she's an author. You can find her book on Amazon, Those Angels Among Us, Parenting the Foster and Adopted Child. And if you have any questions, you can always send us an email to thesportsdeli@gmail.com. You can always DM me on Twitter or on Instagram. On Twitter, it's @MichaelHootner, and on Instagram, @MikeHootner. For Dr. J and Coach K, I'm Hootie Hoot. Until next time, please mask up, especially if you haven't been vaccinated. Remember, it takes a village. Stop Asian hate. Black Lives Matter. Peace.